Hello, friends. This is Eric, the mind control guy, getting ready to go work on my wood pile on my day off. So take a take advantage of this since it's not raining, because normally it does that on my days off. Anyway, I was listening to Awake Nation earlier, formerly known as Dark Outpost, and things that got brought up, and we're seeing it almost every day in the news, social media, on the net, somewhere. And the pushing of the tranny agenda, the pedophile agenda, every kind of deviant behavior you can think of is, of course, they've been deviants around for forever. But the way it's being openly pushed now, and they're trying to get, the people at large to accept it. Hate me for the color of my white skin, and I'm guilty of everything that ever happened in the history of the universe. A lot of these Marxist professors are teaching kids. I was talking to a coworker of mine the other day, and her grandson said basically that's what they're being taught in school. But because of their white skin, they're responsible for every terrible thing that ever happened in the freaking universe. And I talk to more and more parents these days, and that's what's being taught in these schools by these Marxists that Joe McCarthy warned us about decades ago. And now this tranny agenda, this drag queen agenda. I mean, it's just every deviant thing you could think of is being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And I got to thinking about something here the other day. Is it remotely possible that you get these kids, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, have these tendencies that was unheard of when I was growing up, and I'm an old guy. I'm sneaking up on 58 years old, Generation X. And I really get to thinking about it. Is it remotely possible that things are being put in baby food and baby formula that is causing these mental disorders? Of course, things that would never be admitted to, never. And, all the hidden conspiracies and all that kind of stuff that, won't come out for decades, even longer, if they ever came out officially. But I'm kind of wondering, better than 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, somebody showed me something in an old, it's either encyclopedia or a dictionary. And they said, it said right in there, homosexuality was a mental disorder. And now you got these people, just every kind of unconscionable, deviant behavior you can think of, they're engaging in. It's like they're trying to out-queer each other or something. I mean, literally, you don't believe me. Like I say, like I told Dave Zublik and Penny Shepard when I was still doing Dark Outpost months ago. Back in the late 90s, I was delivering up to Niagara Falls area, and later on, um, Sterling Heights, Michigan. And we got to talking about things. The guys that work there and me, we started talking about things. And I'm an old guy, grew up in the 70s, early 80s. Uh, we got talking about bands. Um, and this one particular band back in late 90s, they were always in the news for something. Usually the guy was always bashing women or something like that. And the name of the band was Limp Biscuit, spelled different than the actual words are, at least the biscuit part of the name. And the guy stopped dead in his tracks. Now, this was in the late 90s. He said, "Do you know what Limp Biscuit actually stands for? Or what it is?" No, not what it stands for. He said, "You know what Limp Biscuit actually is?" And I said, "No." He proceeded to tell me. I'm like, "What?" I thought the guy was yanking my chain. because a lot of guys, they always yank each other's chains and they beg you to believe them and say, "Oh, I can't believe you fell for that." So, guys do that all the time. People in general, they do that quite a bit. I thought the guy was just BSing me. And then that was before the internet as we know it today, 25 years later. And a number of years ago, something was created called the Urban Dictionary. And I started, just bored one day thinking about things. I said, I'm going to go see if there's any truth to what this guy told me. I thought he was just bullshitting me the whole time. So I went and typed in the words Limp Biscuit, and lo and behold, it was literally verbatim what he told me. Now, I told David Zublik and Penny Shepard on the show back when it was still called Dark Outpost. And I wouldn't tell them what it was. I told them to go look it up. And both of them looked it up, and they were just like, oh my God, it's just disgusting. And then years before that, before I even heard that term, about 10 years earlier, so we're talking in the very early 90s, I heard a term called felching, spelled just like it sounds, felching. I thought this guy was just bullshitting me. I'm like, ain't nobody gonna do that. How twisted is that? And once again, I went and looked it up in the Urban Dictionary, and there it was, verbatim. And then on YouTube, you have these gay guys talking about it, making videos talking about it. And what they described is exactly what I heard 30 years ago. And so a lot of these sick, depraved, deviant acts exist. And a high percentage of these deviant acts are done by these people with mental disorders, at least described over 100 years ago as mental disorders. And today they're like, want to be inclusionary, accepted, and all this kind of stuff, rainbow flag and all that. And like I say, they're always trying to out-queer each other. And then, you look up an Urban Dictionary, you look up one term leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, so on and so forth. And I'm just like, what the hell? And the morning drive show, Bob and Tom show. Well, years before he retired, Bob Kavoyan did a song called The Cleveland Steamer. And it was all these different acts of depravity that people engage in, mostly gay or bi or whatever the hell they're calling themselves this week. The LGBTQ, LMNOP, WTF, yeah, that bunch. Virtually all of these acts of depravity are engaged in by that bunch. Or those that don't know what the hell they are. They're bi, they're trans, they don't know. Q, questioning, I don't know what the hell I am. These acts of depravity are majority engaged that bunch. And that bunch now, they want to make policy, acceptance. They want to be teaching in the schools. Hell, years ago, the Boy Scouts of America, great institution, was destroyed by the LGBT, WTF, what the hell are they calling themselves this week group. All these scoutmasters that were molesting all these boys. They try to defend them. Well, they weren't really gay. Excuse me, no matter what the age is, male messing with another male, female messing with another female, you're queer, okay? It don't matter. And the Boy Scouts didn't want all these gay scoutmasters within their ranks because these boys were being messed with. And so Hollywood, go figure, and all these libtards came down on the Boy Scouts of America with a vengeance. How dare you don't want pedophiles in your group? Oh, we have to call them gay. No, they're pedophiles. Scoutmasters want to be around little boys just so they can mess with them. But like I say, over 100 years ago, in the medical books, homosexuality was described as a mental disorder. And now you got all these drag queens and trannies, and they've gotten so much clout and power now. Kids that want to transition when they're 6 and 7 years old. Like, what? And the parents that don't go along with it can have their kids taken away from them. Yeah, that's actually going on today in 2023. I think Washington State was one of those ones trying to pass legislation. Maybe they did, I don't know. But try to get your kids taken away from you if you don't accept, or if for your kids' transition. Male wanting to be female, female wanting to be male. What the hell? Mental disorders. Yeah. And so I got to thinking, is it remotely possible that they are putting something in baby formula and baby food that are causing these mental disorders from infancy? So when the kids start growing up, their head is so screwed up they don't know what the hell they are. And it's like my shirt says, I need some new conspiracy theories because all my old ones came true. But the more I'm seeing this agenda pushed and pushed and pushed, the whole tranny thing, the drag queen thing, and all these used to be staunch American, businesses now are going so-called woke, going all the way to the left, embracing this deviant agenda, welcoming in these freaks into their lives with open ass cheeks. That's putting it in perspective. And it's like, they talk about the world, 4,500 years or so ago was so screwed up. There was a great deluge to just wipe out humanity and everything because they got so bad. The way things are going, I could see it happening again. And I'm not a big time religious guy, but history repeats itself. And it's been said the next one could be obliterate everything on this planet by fire. Well, we got Yellowstone, the whole entire Pacific North Rim, and there's other volcanoes all over the world. Other super volcanoes besides Yellowstone. What happens with in one day, all these volcanoes go off at once. Well, that's one way to wipe out civilization, wipe out humanity and everything else. Like I say, the Urban Dictionary. You go yourself and you look up these terms. Now, if somebody wants to hang out with those people, be my guest. But if somebody is engaged in certain kind of behavior, whether it be deviancy, criminal, anything, if I choose not to be hanging out with somebody because of the way they are, yet I'm called a bigot and a hate monger and all that kind of crap. If I hang out with somebody who's in a car theft ring, there's an old saying, you're known by the company you keep. And who's to say if they don't get busted, I won't get busted because I'm hanging out with them. I don't want to be hanging out with a bunch of fruitcakes. Call me a bigot, I don't care. A lot of people say, oh, I don't want to be thought of as racist or homophobe. I don't care. Those terms washed off me a long time ago. I don't hate somebody because of, their skin color, whatever. Hey, there's people of all categories out here. But someone's deviant behavior, if this is what you're into, I don't want to be associated with you. Like I say, these terms that you find on Urban Dictionary. Some were mentioned in Bob Kavorian's song, Cleveland Steamer. Yeah, there's one. Look it up. Urban Dictionary. Cleveland Steamer. Others that were mentioned on there. Alabama Hot Pocket. Moondocking. Boston Pancake. All these just disgusting activities that the people in the LGBT, LMNOP, WTF community engage in. And if people say, well, there's straight people doing that, well, they're not too damn straight. A lot of these people who are bi or trans or pedo, bestiality, necrophilia, it's all mental disorders. Pure and simple. Call me a hate monger, I don't care. I don't want to be associated with someone who is into deviant activity because, as the old saying goes, you're known by the company you keep, and birds of a feather flock together. I don't want to be hanging out with people into deviant activity, so, oh, I don't want people to think I'm a hate monger, so I'll go hang out with them. Not this old boy. But you don't believe me? Go to the Urban Dictionary. You're holding your phone in your hand, you're looking at your computer right now. Go to the Urban Dictionary. Look it up. Limp Biscuit. Alabama Hot Pocket. Moondocking. Snowballing. One leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. Ask yourself, do you want to hang out with somebody knowing this is the kind of behavior that they're engaging in? NAMBLA, North American Man Boy Love Association, just a sugar-coated term for a group of queer pedophiles that want to rape little boys. And years ago, NAMBLA's been around since 1978. What's their common denominator? A bunch of grown males, I ain't going to call them men because they're not, a bunch of males over 18 that want to mess with little boys. And it used to be, years ago, that the queer community, they defended them. I remember seeing the banners in magazines mainstream media wouldn't publish. Alternative right-wing news media got the pictures and they published them. Mainstream wouldn't. Where all these LGBT, whatever the hell they are, were saying hands off NAMBLA. And now these fruitcakes got their own flags. They got people in that community, and they're not out there being just completely neon flame. You wouldn't, unless you asked them, you wouldn't even know they were, because they're not flame on. But there are those out there in that community that want nothing to do with the pedos, and a certain amount of them don't even want nothing to do with the trans or the drags or any of these neon flames that exist now that you see every damn day pushing and pushing and pushing. And all the far right groups from back in the 80s, the National States Rights Party, the White Patriot Party, the Aryan Nations, all those right-wing groups, call them white supremacist, neo-Nazi, I don't care. They were saying it over 35 years ago, that this, what we see today, was going to happen, and they were called a bunch of crazies. Guess what? Here we are. And the Southern Poverty Law Center and more sodomite D's put them all out of existence. Put the educators out of business. Those with the bullhorns out there telling you what was coming down, shut them up and put them out of existence, and let the deviants and the communists and the anarchists and all the other reds and the Marxists, let them flourish. Look at our schools, look at our colleges, look at society. You know, years and years and years ago, decades ago, San Francisco used to be a beautiful city by the sea, and now it's literally a septic tank. Detroit was a flourishing metropolitan paradise at one time. Now look at it. It's a wasteland. But anyway, I got to get going. But I wanted to get this off my chest. I'm thinking now, bottom line of this video, I'm thinking now, there is something being put in baby formula and baby food to where these kids are developing these mental disorders at infancy. I have no idea where it's originating from, but it's happening somewhere. And I'm absolutely convinced of it. And one of these days, maybe after I'm long dead and gone, I feel I'm going to be vindicated that, wow, that crazy dude, he was right all along. Yeah. Thanks for listening to me. Even all you individuals just hate the ground I walk on, think I'm batshit crazy and all this other stuff. I could give a rat's ass about you trolls. I could care less about you trolls. You trolls are a big part of the problem. But for those that think I'm batshit crazy, look up the terms I told you about in the Urban Dictionary. It's all there and more. But that is the kind of deviant crap that's going on in this rainbow community out here that they're pushing on your kids starting in schools. Thanks for listening.